everyone, and welcome back to Muse Arts Artist Holistic Wellness Series as part of the Ties to Community programming. My name is Veronica, and I'll be the mediator for tonight's session. For those who are new, the Artist Holistic Wellness Series invites artists who come from different backgrounds to engage in conversation all things music. This year, we're back to the healing powers of music, how music can be used as a medium of expression, how it creates and empowers communities. We're going to be exploring holistic healing through music, community empowerment, emergent artists, music through generations, and the future of music. Before we continue, I would like to acknowledge the land we are situated upon. We recognize that we work and live on traditional Indigenous territories. I'm currently located on the traditional Indigenous territory of the Huron-Wendat, the Haudenosaunee, and most recently, the territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit. I also wish to express gratitude to Mother Earth for the resources we are using, and I would like to honor all the First Nation, Métis, and Inuit people who have been living on the land since time immemorial. In tonight's session, we're exploring the individual and collective empowerment through music. So without further ado, I introduce today's special guest, Samer. Samer is a multidisciplinary artist, playing the drums, guitar, bass, piano, and raps. Samer made his way to Canada in 2017 as a student refugee from the Middle East, and ever since then, he has built a studio in Toronto and has been making music nonstop. Samer, I welcome you into the space, and
Thank you for having me.
yourselves a little further.
Well, I think you said it all. I've been making music for around like 10 years now, and I feel like it only took a serious turn as soon as I came to Canada, but that's always been the goal. But yeah, thank you for having me. I'm
Of
excited for this.
course. I'm excited to engage in conversations where I don't know much about music in the music industry, even though I've been doing this for quite a few years. I feel like everybody has a different perspective and everybody's kind of in their own musical journey, different stages of it. So thank you so much for joining us today. I want to get
No
started from
problem.
the very beginning. So like how did it start? Was there an influence when you were young or just take me
Yeah.
through it.
So it was so weird actually, because it started off with two artists, with Eminem and with Tupac.
Mm,
And back then, like my English was broken because I'm from the Middle East, right? I grew up in Syria and in Lebanon. And although we did have like proper education, it took me a while before I completely took in what they're saying and everything like that. But the biggest impact was the fact that specifically it was Tupac, it was the song Ghetto Gospel. And the fact
mm,
that he wrote that millions of miles away, and I could somehow relate to his experiences, feel his passion through the music all the way in the Middle East. That was like mind blowing to me, right? And then I've always been in a musical household. So my dad played piano, a bunch of other instruments, and I was always very intrigued and inquisitive. Like I would sit on the piano, try to figure out what I just heard my dad play, stuff like that. And yeah, I think it just came together slowly. I started like putting in the different instruments and the rap aspect as well.
amazing. So is this like safe to assume that you've always known that music was going to be like your career path, or was there different influences?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I keep telling people here, like, even if I don't make it, I'm gonna be the 90-year-old writing raps and like
Oh,
playing. Yeah. I'm gonna be doing this for the rest of my life. I feel like it's just intrinsic at this point.
yeah. And was there
Yeah.
any like, I guess, doubt? A lot of people have different like experiences when they actually like started making
Mm.
music. Was there any like doubt, like maybe this isn't for me, or is this going to be like a livable career? You know what I mean?
Ah,
Yes.
well, absolutely. Especially like from immigrant parents or because my parents didn't really immigrate here, but they're still back in Lebanon. But telling them like, hey, I want to be a musician, obviously they're like, well, you can have it as a hobby. You need to
Yeah.
focus on something that's gonna get you. So I went and I studied nursing. This was back in Lebanon. And it's crazy because like nursing was a stepping stone to getting to Canada because nurses are needed worldwide, but especially like male nurses. There's not a lot of us. So yeah, my dad's like, if you want to go to the West, if you want to go to the States or Canada, you have to have some sort of education. You can't just be like, hey, I'm a musician, please take
Yeah.
me. So yeah, I went through I went through the education, graduated, and then as soon as I did my nursing degree, that's when I studied sound engineering, music production. That's like, okay, now you guys got what you wanted.
Yeah.
This is what I
Now I can
love.
do what, yeah.
Now I can do what I want. And luckily enough, like out of hundreds of applicants, I got accepted to come here. And I think my education was a big part of it, right? Um, you can't really fault the country for wanting to bring in, educated people, people that are going to contribute to the society.
Right.
But yeah, that's one aspect of your question. The other aspect is the doubt. It's always there. It's always there. No matter how good I got, no matter how like confident or whatever, it's always there. Every
Okay.
time I write something, it's gonna be there in the back of my mind, but you just gotta have that mental power to go like, you know what? I feel good about this, whatever. Just trust my gut, do it.
Just
Even
go
if it's
for
not
it.
great, put it out, make another song.
Sure. I feel like this is a very common theme throughout like
Yeah.
different like even like just artistic backgrounds. Like a lot of people do different types of music, but every time I talk to somebody, they're always like, I doubt myself before I even put it out. And then it happens to be like the biggest thing they've ever done, right?
Yeah.
So thank you for highlighting that. Yeah.
Oh, and I work because of my studio, I work with a lot of different artists. And the levels range from like just starting off to I've been doing this for 5 years type of thing. And I see it across the board.
Yeah.
You would like an artist would show me their verse here live, and then as soon as they go behind the microphone, you can hear this slight shivers of a voice of their voice. You can tell they're a little kind of anxious about it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, it's always gonna be there. It's just something you kind of learn to like live with and just kind
a
of,
100%.
yeah, and just kind of shrug it off sometimes. I now want to step into the opportunities that even coming to a new country
Mm.
granted for you, either musically or personally.
Well, on a personal level, I worked with, so you know how I said I did nursing back in the day? I
Yeah.
specialized in addiction and mental health. This
Okay.
was back home. So when I came here, I started working with adults who have autism. And they're pretty like severe cases, nonverbal, like they would hurt themselves, stuff like that. So it was a very challenging job, but it was a great opportunity because now I'm in this space where I bring my guitar every time I go to work and I'm playing songs and you can see the effect that it's having. So in terms of career wise, I have a good paying career to be able to afford the studio and the equipment and the yada yada yada. Um, on the opportunities on the musical side, I think Canada is fantastic. I've met people who have come from the States to Canada because they
Wow.
say the grant programs that you guys have here, that we have here, are amazing. The challenge has been for me is the grant writing because apparently it's very nuanced and you really have to know how to write.
Yeah.
Uh, but in terms of opportunities, they're there, they're abundant. Yeah.
Amazing. And have you found
Oh,
like Toronto? Everybody talks about Toronto because of the diversity, either culturally, creatively.
hmm
You'll find everything and anyone. Have you
hmm
found that empowering or maybe a little bit more like there's more competition here? Like how have you found that? How have you used that influence?
I love that. I honestly think that was one of the biggest things that made me feel somewhat comfortable in this country. Because when I came here, I came in 2017 with my sister. We came as student refugees, so we came directly to York University. I came to York, she went to Ryerson. And everybody around me, I don't want to say everybody, but majority of the people around me were also students coming from all these different countries. So I didn't really necessarily feel alone. It wasn't like I'm this new guy and everybody here has got their shit together. I don't know if I can curse, sorry. Uh, but yeah, everybody's got their priorities straight. It wasn't like that. It was everybody's coming to this new country. We're all experimenting. We're all learning. Definitely had to pay some dues. I didn't know how to file my taxes for like two
Yeah.
years.
It's kind of like starting from ground zero all over again, but you had people there to
100%.
support you, right?
Well, yeah,
To
we all
relate.
kind of like formed somewhat of a support system. Like I had because I came to the dorms, right? So my one of my dorm mates was from Turkey, the other from Zimbabwe, other from Ivory Coast, and it was so diverse that it just we all felt at home because we all felt like we have some sort of support system.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So that sense of community and like collective support was there since the beginning, even just doing like your academic
100%. Yeah.
career. Has that translated into like the music aspect? I know musicians tend
Yeah.
to support each other 100%. Like with the gig, I'm there. So how
Yeah.
has that experience been for you?
Well, most of these people that I just named, like the Ivory Coast guy, are musicians. I
Oh,
don't know
there.
why. I think you said it. We just is magnetized towards each other. But I had like this very humble setup. I had a little MIDI keyboard and my computer, my software, and my microphone. And somehow people were still coming over. I'd be recording their music for them, and we just became very close friends because whenever I discover something new in terms of like, oh, we have this new venue we can go perform at, everybody comes.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to perform there. And then somebody else finds something or discovers something. Hey, we have this opportunity, let's go. The sense of community is fantastic. And sorry if I'm going on, if I'm like rambling on and
You're
on,
good.
but one of the things that I heard constantly for the first 2, 3 years of me being here was Toronto's music scene is crap. Can I curse? I'm sorry.
Um,
Prefer
moderate.
not to.
Yeah, moderately.
So everybody was like, from what I would hear and what I would see on Instagram, the scene is very selfish. People are everybody's only looking out for themselves. But when I started going out, I didn't see that. I
Okay.
think I think it was just kind of perpetuated on Instagram and social media, but it's not like people are nice. People are
Yeah.
nice. People want to work together. Um, I have to shout out this place. They're called Beat Cave, and they do this event every year where they take 70 plus artists to this camp for 3 days.
Okay.
And there's like a bunch of different little, bungalows or whatever. And imagine 70 artists just walking around, meeting new different artists. Let's make a song. So we start like producing this beat. A sax player is just passing by with a saxophone. Yo, you want to come add something? He'd come, lay something down real quick, and then keep going. Guitar players passing by. Yo, you want to? It's amazing. Like there is a sense of
Wow.
community here,
Yeah,
and
that's exactly
definitely
what it
shout
is.
out to Beat Cave. Yeah.
Amazing. I've actually never heard of that. Prior to what you were saying about the whole Toronto scene, like the music and all of it, I've heard that before in previous conversations
The
actually we had last
selfishness.
year. Yeah. And I was like, I wonder if how
Yeah.
true that is. And I wonder if that also depends what type of like music events you're going to as well and like
Yeah.
where it's held and stuff. But thank you for
It's
bringing that to light and be like, it's not that bad. Like you can get out
it's
there and like
not. It's not. And you definitely see it more with like the hip hop scene as
mhm.
opposed to like the pop or R&B or whatever. But um the way you would see it, and just to be very fair and paint like a clear picture here, you would see it in a way where you would go to this event and you would perform, you would have uh let's say a 10-minute set to perform.
Yeah.
I would go do my 10-minute set, and then I'm sitting here watching the other artist. The other artist goes on stage, 10-minute set, then him and his crew would all leave as soon as he's done.
Mhm.
So then the other artist would get on stage, him and his crew would all leave afterwards. Uh, it was just that would I guess that would give out the vibe of selfishness. We're only here for me, but that's not as abundant as all the other positives in this community. Beat
Yes.
Cave is only one. I can name you at least five different organizations that do amazing work. Yeah,
Yeah. The community like arts in general, like I think the community of artists and like creatives in Toronto, I mean, being from one of them is it's a lot. There's a lot. There's a lot of
yeah,
opportunities for
yeah.
artists. There's a lot of showcasing of them. And I feel
Hmm.
like every single year it's just growing a little bit more. and like the summer's
What
coming.
we're doing right now.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
So the summer's coming, and I know there's just gonna be more physical because COVID took away a lot of that. That's why we kind of transitioned to like Zoom and like
Hmm.
workshops online. But I know summer's coming, and I already like there's festivals, there's so much happening for
Can't
artists.
wait.
No, it's gonna be great. I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm not even an artist myself, but I'm excited to just be there and support. You know what I mean?
That's amazing. Yeah, I hope this summer is the one.
No, it will. I see it. I don't know what it is, but it's like that summer that everybody talks about. It was like the best summer of their lives. A lot of people use
Yeah.
like 2016. Drake came out with a new album. It was like the biggest deal. That's what it's
So
get
this is,
like.
you have a feeling this is gonna be it?
This is the one. Yeah. And just like the
Okay.
build up to it, like just like think like conversations like these. And I've been talking to artists like from different parts of like even the world,
Mm,
and they're telling me all the singles and all the albums that they're dropping this summer, and like all the events that they have booked for the summer. It's like everything's happening now. You know
mm.
what I mean? Like they have so much lined up for themselves. And even we were talking before we even started. I don't know if you want to bring this up of
Yeah.
like new opportunities coming for yourself. Do you want to?
Oh, of course, of course. So I just did a headlining show recently. That was a couple of weeks ago at Object Studios, and it was incredible. And right after that, I got an invitation to perform at Clinton's Bar, Clinton's Got Talent, March 31st. So yeah, I think you're right. It's definitely like ramping up towards the
Yeah,
summer. Yeah.
amazing. So just to know a little bit more about you, take me through the creative process. Exactly what do you
Mm,
do, and like what puts you in
okay.
that state to start creating?
Uh, what puts me in the state? That's a good question. I, I feel like I'm in a perpetual kind of state of I want to make music.
Okay.
And the fact that I have a 9 to 5, I think pushes it because now I want to kind of utilize all the time that I have to make music because it's not a lot. In Toronto, Toronto's expensive, right? So if you want to have a nice place, a car, whatever, you have to pay a lot. So
Yeah.
I'm heavily relying on my like 9 to 5 job, and every chance I have, I finish. It's not really 9 to 5. I finish at 7 p.m. I get home. I have like a list of songs that I have already made. I start mixing, mastering the songs, getting them to the final level. And every Friday, that's my day off, I do cookups. So because of the sense of community that we were talking about, I met so many very talented artists that I wanted to work with. So I figured the best way to kind of group everything together is create this Friday cookups. So I
Mhm.
would invite two producers and 2 or 3 artists. And the whole goal, they would come around noonish. And the whole goal is we have to produce the beat, write the lyrics, record all in one day. And yeah, and because it's not just relying on like one producer who's gonna do everything, it's the workflow is so much easier,
Mhm.
and you can tell everybody's inspired because when you're handpicking the people that are coming, uh, I'm getting like very talented people, very nice people as well. So it's easy to gel together, and yeah, that's how it starts. Get people over. How are you guys feeling? We listen to a couple of reference tracks, and then we start. Like I would either play some chords, and then somebody else would be like, "Oh, try this, try that, blah blah blah," and yeah, and we're
Amazing.
off.
Yeah, and what was your inspiration behind like even starting those like Friday like sessions? Was there a
I
specific?
Yeah, I'm not sure if this is great for me personally, but I think I work better when others are around.
Yeah, yeah, I feel
So
the same. Yeah,
yeah,
it's valid.
it's terrible because I got to a point where it's like I want to go and I have a 20-minute set and I want to perform, but like most of my music have features, so I
Mm,
had to like stop and kind of reevaluate, and I have to finish a few songs for myself first, but yeah, it's definitely I work better with people around. I don't know why. Are we just more inspired by people?
true. Yeah. I feel like
So
it's
yeah,
like also this collective energy that you have when everybody's around.
I
right?
love feeding off of other people's energy. I don't know what if my girlfriend walks in and she's having a bad day, it
Affected.
instantly,
Yep.
and like I'd want to not nag her and be what's wrong, but at the same time it's like it's affecting me to the
Yeah.
core.
Like we need to fix this now or else we're both
Now.
Yep, that's exactly what it is. And I feel like that's why the element of like community and like collective work is so powerful. And like some people get their best work done, like you said, when they work with others. And even like having others' opinions, right? Like, oh,
Exactly.
maybe because then the doubt kind of comes in, like everything's kind of tied together. We've been talking about this, like, I don't know if that sounds right. And then somebody would be like, you know what, I really like that, but you could change this. And then
Exactly.
magic happens, I'm assuming. I don't know what the process is,
Yeah,
but
you're so right. And just imagine when you're producing a song, you're listening to one section of the song over and over and over and over. When I say hundreds of times, I'm not exaggerating. It could really be hundreds of times where you're listening to this 4 bar loop. And maybe by like time 95 where it's looping again, you're sick of it. So if you don't have, personally, I found if I don't have somebody else coming in and like, oh, how about we just add this like little guitar lick on top of it? And now that little change kind of created this huge difference. And now I'm not bored of it anymore. And now I'm inspired to add more stuff. Yeah.
exactly, yeah. It's just like a collective, like putting ideas on top until like the final product comes out. And conversations like these, like I know for people listening and even for myself, every time I leave a session like this, I feel inspired and a sense of gratitude just for everything that's produced. I was talking to
Yeah.
a composer the other day and he makes music for like um movies. And I was talking to him how that goes over my head when I watch a
Yeah.
movie, the soundtrack
You're
behind
not
it
thinking of it.
I could, you know what I mean? Like it adds to the movie so much.
But
Like
yeah,
take
that's
that
what I'm saying.
away.
Take it out and you instantly feel it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the feelings that come with the song is insane. And I was telling him, I'm like, and then he was telling me his process. And I was like, I didn't know so much work went into these things. And now
Hmm.
producing a song, again, I hear a song, oh, that was great. Or sometimes I'm like, you know what, that wasn't that good. But I didn't know the whole process and the work that it actually took to make that. So
Yeah.
conversations like these really like bring that to life. Do
I,
you feel like
even from my point of view, talking to
yeah,
somebody who's not like an artist, like I don't know if you do other types of arts besides music, but not a musician. I'm also inspired from these conversations because now I'm thinking in my head, okay, you know what? Maybe you can just a little more confidence, listen to that loop 102 times, and just add something yourself. And now I'm like getting pumped up. Yeah.
exactly. And even like the gratification you must get when you actually perform what you've
Oh,
produced or like let's talk about that. How is performing?
performing. So there was one night that kind of um that's when everything took a turn in terms of performing back home. It took me a while, but I started getting somewhat of a following, right, in terms of my music. And it was tough because my music, like, I rap in English,
Right.
so to be rapping in English in an Arab country, it was tough to get the people to listen. But my biggest show was like 1,000 people. That was back home, right? So I got to a point where a bar owner gives me a call and he's like, New Year's Eve, I want you to come perform and then I'll pay you this much and then open premium bar for you all night.
Hmm.
So he said open premium bar. So I start with the blue label, right? The
Yeah, a
first
hundred
drink,
percent.
the second drink, the third drink. By the time I got to perform, I was so drunk. And the first bar, second bar, and then I
Oh,
forgot every word. And then I tried to freestyle, and that was terrible. And then my one of my friends comes like close to the stage and he's like, just cut it, just cut it. So ever since that night, the anxiety behind before every show is like through the roof. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't like it has to be, I have to be very clear headed. I meditate 5 days before, every day, 5 days before the show to get to that level.
okay.
And then something weird happens. And I really hope I'm not being too like exaggerating the feeling, but this is how I feel.
Yeah, 100%.
Um, uh, Anxiety level 100. You're about to get on stage. It's still 100. You grab the mic. You're talking to the people, introducing yourself. It's still up there. As soon as the music starts, as soon as you say your first word, autopilot. And that's when, for some reason, I stop feeling the anxiety. I stop thinking about what the next bar is. It all just kind of, it's not on my mind anymore, and I just go on autopilot, and it's the greatest feeling in the world to me. Just there, telling my story. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so it's like this huge buildup. You do preparation right before. I've heard a lot of yeah, that's a thing. That's a thing,
Yeah.
right? This
That's
whole preparing beforehand. A lot of people have
I,
like things backstage, but you're taking it 5 days before.
5 days before and
Amazing.
meditating every day
Yeah.
before the show. I wish I could meditate show or no show. I
Yeah.
honestly, I was a big, like, I don't want to say hater, but I didn't really take it in. I didn't think meditation is that big of a deal. But then, uh, yeah, something happened last year, a huge health scare, and I meditated, and it genuinely, like, I felt calmer throughout the rest of the day, and I don't know, I felt its effects, right?
Yeah.
And ever since then, 5 days before the show, every day.
Wow. So it is just kind of like tying back to our theme of like holistic wellness and
Hmm.
just well-being through music. It literally starts with the meditation, with the mental, with the physical. As
Yeah.
soon as you get on stage, it's like I'm assuming it ties the mental, physical, and spiritual all together because you're performing, you're on this high, you're on this, you know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
okay. Interesting.
Yeah. It all comes together, and I, I'm a firm believer of be over prepared, so that's the best way to battle your anxiety.
Yeah.
If I feel like as human beings, we make promises to ourselves a lot, right? So I'm gonna start going to the gym soon,
Mm.
and then you don't go to the gym. Now you broke the promise to yourself, and that creates anxiety. That creates more doubt because now you think to yourself, "Oh, I made this promise to myself, but I didn't fulfill it. Does that mean I'm making a promise to myself that I want to be successful? Does that mean I'm gonna also fail at that?"
Mhm.
And it just becomes this like whirlpool of negative thoughts and stuff like that. So over prepared, practice the verse 102 times so that I know it like the back of my hand.
Yeah.
And that way, now I can really focus on the things that matter. When you're on stage, your projection should be very loud and clear so that people, especially if you're rapping, so that people can hear the words that you're saying. To do that, you need a lot of breath. So now I have to kind of take mental notes. After I say this word, I have like a few milliseconds to take a before I keep going. So now when I'm on stage, I'm not worried about what's the next word. I'm worried about, I'm not even worried about it, but it's just like, okay, this is the point where I have to take a quick breath. I can focus on the things that I need to focus on without worrying too much. Yeah.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, so it's kind of highlighting just the continuous growth you've had with even
Uh,
performing, because that's a big part
yeah.
of being an artist, right? Performing the work that you've worked so hard for. And
Yeah.
that's amazing. And how is it
Yeah.
the interaction with the audience and the performer? How is that?
Uh, the interaction with the audience is key. They have to like you, right? People make we all do it. It's not necessarily like, oh, this is so wrong that people make quick judgments. I feel like we all, if you're watching a show, you have the first minute, 2 minutes of the person coming on stage, you form some sort of opinion,
Yeah.
and then that opinion might change later on. But for the most part, if you hate the person on stage, you're not gonna end up liking him too much. So I like to keep it short and sweet. I go. I'm a person that smiles a lot. Sometimes I think it's a bad thing, but I get on stage. Hello, you guys are all looking beautiful tonight. My name is Samer. I just want to share my music with you. Can I share my music with you tonight? Yeah, I can hear you. Woo! And yeah, and I just start. I don't like to talk too much.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Amazing.
That's
And how long is like your set? Take
uh,
me through like the whole transition. Is there like um a specific order that you perform in, like, or does that even
it,
matter?
it depends what I'm doing. So recently, specifically this year, I've come to this. I don't know if you know what a looper pedal is, but it's I connect my guitar, my bass, my piano all to it, and then I play, let's say, a 4 bar riff on the guitar, right? And then I press a button, and then that 4 bar riff just starts repeating, and then I
Okay.
record something on top of it. Boom, starts repeating on top. Put the guitar down, pick up the bass, play something. Boom, now it's repeating. Play something on the piano, and then I go to the drum set, and now I have like the headset microphone, and
Mhm.
now I'm playing drums and I'm rapping along. That one song would take like 10 minutes, so I would reserve this to finish the set with, and then I do some songs with backing tracks in the beginning. So yeah, it depends on the show. The each set it could go from like 5 minutes all the way to 25 minutes. The longest set I've had was I think 30 minutes. Yeah, where I did like the whole album. That was the album release party. Um, but yeah, that's uh that's pretty much the set.
Amazing. And how did you find this, like, is this a technique, the loop?
Uh,
Um, it is. Okay.
I've I have I've always been like in this hunt for what sound do I have? What separates me from these, million other rappers that are out there really telling their story and through the music and all that. And the one thing that I think that answers this question to me is I love instruments. Any type of instrument that you want, I want to learn how to play it. Even
Right.
if I don't have a saxophone right now, I literally, you're one of me being in Canada. I'm like, I should go buy a sax. And then I go, I find out it's $3,000. I'm like, yeah, maybe.
Right now.
So I think that's what separates me. So, okay, how do I include this into my music?
Hmm.
And it became like, okay, the loop station is the one thing where I can be a one-man band and I can introduce all the instruments and I can still rap on top. That's how I got to that level. But yeah, uh, I hope that answers your question. I don't know
Oh no,
if
it definitely did. It takes more than just like being like, you know what, I'm gonna do this. Like there's inspiration behind that. Like even just like
Mm,
learning all the instruments and like putting them together for
yeah.
sure. And what kind of like brought you to rapping? Because you could easily just do that and like call it a day, but why would you want to rap?
I always tell people, because I'm a sound engineer, I'm a music producer, right? But I always tell people I'm a rapper first. I uh, I don't know the Tupac song that I listened to when I was still a kid, what, 13, 14. Uh, it gave me goosebumps. I still listen to this day, and it still gives me goosebumps. And I want that. I have a song called "Dope" about my history with addiction, with like all sorts of drugs and just going down that kind of rabbit hole. And the verse took me at least like a month and a half, 2 months to write because every time like I'm halfway through and I'd be like, this is too personal. But you know what? It has to be personal because this is my story. My story is unique to me. I have to leave it in there. I have to leave it in there. And there's always like this pushback from yourself. How are you gonna tell people that you've never met before, hey, I used to inject drugs? Like it's
Yeah.
heavy, right?
Yeah.
But then one performance after the show, one of the guys from the crowd comes up to me and says, "Thank you for that song. I went through it. I was there. I related." And that happened. I performed the song a bunch of times. It happened only once, but I will never forget that interaction with him. Right. So yeah, rapper first. Everything else I love to do. Don't get
Mhm.
me wrong, but rapper first.
Rapper first. Yep. And it was that story kind of just highlighted the theme of our session in general, which is empowerment. You kind of
Mm,
gave this person something to relate to, and that in itself just empowered everything you've ever done and like why you're doing what you're doing, right? Like that sense of like, okay, I kind of built that interaction with that person And now, like you said, you'll never forget it, even
I'll
though it
never
just took
forget
that
it.
one time, right? Yeah, for
Yep.
sure. And besides the Friday sessions that you're holding or you did
Mm.
hold, what other like knowledge sharing events like do you attend or do you what's the word? Or do you like make yourself? You know what I mean? Like do you facilitate?
Well, I I've helped a lot of artists learn a little bit about mixing. Uh, that's from a stand view of me helping others gain certain knowledge. When it comes to mixing music, because a lot of people can buy the interface and the microphone, but it still sounds kind of terrible. They need to do a few things, and it's a little bit of theory behind it. And I'm more than happy to share all my information. I would tell any artist that comes here, ask me 100 questions. I will answer all your questions while I'm working. And it's like I love doing that, right? Because I was at a point in my life where I was just learning. This was before I went to school for music production, and I had a friend of mine who's I think 5 years older than me at the time. Um, he's the one where I'd have so many questions. I'd come to him like, "Hey, I recorded my vocals. Now what do I do?" And then he'd explain EQ to me. He'd explain compression to me, and then I'd go home, mess around with it a little bit, and then I just I believe in paying it forward. So that's one aspect of it, and then the other aspect of me learning from other people, Beat Cave, they do these events where they bring in big artists to talk about their experience, and they do like workshops and stuff like that. So definitely there are, if you're in Toronto, there are a lot of people that want to help you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of people don't realize how much resources are available just because they're
Mm,
not in the communities or in the conversations like we are right now where they would even like know,
yeah.
right? So even highlighting that, definitely that's going to be in the description for the video.
Mm,
So thank you for that. Is there anything in
no
the
problem.
future that you wish to like it's like this is something that I'm going to teach if I have the opportunity to. This one thing is what like
Mm.
this is crucial for our new artists to know.
Oh, recording yourself. Recording. I tell everybody, by giving you this advice,
Mhm.
I'm taking money out my pocket because now you don't need me to come and record your song. But it's okay. I don't want you to need me to record your song. I want you to have, and I always use this kind of analogy. Uh, Imagine you're a painter, but you don't have a brush or paint at home.
Right.
Like you can still go out and paint outside your house, right? But every time you come home, you have no access to your art. Uh, and if you're a singer, if you're a rapper, you need a microphone at home. You need some sort of small setup. It doesn't cost too much. You can get started with something around $300, $400 per whole bundle. And yeah, that's the one thing I would teach. Record yourself, and you'll save up so much. Imagine a recording session is $40 an hour.
Hmm.
This is on average, $30 to $40 an hour.
Yeah.
Each artist for one song needs an average of 2 hours. That's $80. That's for one song. Just go buy your,
Yeah,
you know,
for sure. It's like the steps in creating like who you are as an artist as well, and your the knowledge and the skills that you build. You're very like skillful, I can tell artist. So like even just starting with like a mentor or a friend, like, hey, come over, let me show you this. That knowledge exchange in itself is already making you a better artist and person at the same time.
100%, 100%. And there's so much knowledge out there.
Mhm.
Like I haven't done, for example, there's a process called mixing and there's a different process called mastering. Usually, like I have a mentor down. He has a studio in downtown Toronto. Incredible guy. He's called Mark, mixed by MS. I would send him all the songs for him to do the mastering. Now I know how to do mastering. Like I learned in theory back in school, but I never actually did it. Now I got to a point where it's like, you know what? I should I should learn more. I go on YouTube, hundreds of videos.
Yep.
Like the knowledge is out there, whether it's a person, whether it's YouTube, whatever it is, it's out there. Get a small setup, record yourself.
There you go. Literally, the takeaway of this: record yourself for
Record yourself.
sure. Just start. I feel like just take the first step.
Yep, yep, yeah.
That's
And then the self, you feel a little bit of self-doubt. It's okay. Everybody does. Your first song might be terrible. It's okay. You should hear my first song. uh, it's yeah, I don't know. That's the takeaway message. Record yourself. Yeah.
perfect. Just to kind of end off our session, I want to tie all the themes together just with a
Hmm.
simple question. Not simple in itself. I think this is one of the hardest questions, and you kind of have to go in depth a little bit. But how do you take music and your music journey as a holistic thing? How does this help your
Mm.
body and spirit, whether that be with the community or like a personal thing?
Ah, you were right. It is a
Yep.
complicated question. Um, so I have a very stressful job, right? The days where the my client would be very like self-injurious behavior, like and we'd have to gear up and go and like hold him down, and he doesn't know what he's doing, and we kind of just have to go through calming strategies. Let's stop, let's take 5 deep breaths, let's count to 20, let's, stuff like that until he's finally calm. And that's just one aspect of the job. There's so many different things, a lot of times where like he's on edge and you kind of have to stay. It feels like you're on thin ice, and at any moment he might blow up, and you have to kind of a lot of times there I would use music where, did you know like certain chords provoke certain emotions?
Yep. There's like a
Uh,
vibrational frequency to everything.
100, and I did this experiment in class, in one of my classes. I drew a smiley face and a sad face on two separate pieces of paper, and I handed these two separate pieces of paper to everybody in class. And I played a major chord. I asked everybody, what emotion is this evoke in you? Everybody's like 90% were like happy. And then I played a minor chord, sad. So in terms of going back to the to the end, the job being as stressful as it is, even with the use of music, sometimes the use of music can help a lot. Uh, I would play one chord, he would stop everything, and then he'd have headphones, right? Take the headphones off and just like, oh, and I start playing one of the songs that he likes, and now he's pausing his own music and just kind of rocking back and forth with me. So that's the first answer to your question. There's something on an intrinsic level with music that just calms your spirit. Whatever it is, whatever you want to call it, it's there. So I saw it in that aspect. The second part of answering the question is I come home now, I'm feeling terrible because it's been a long day. It's constantly feeling like you're on thin ice and stuff like that. Come home, I sit, I start playing music, I start singing. I don't have the greatest singing voice, but I start singing, and somehow it just kind of washes everything away. And it shows you that everything's okay, and tomorrow's another day, and focus on what you love, and the passion, it kind of supersedes everything else. It's you're in that moment, and I think it's therapy. Yeah.
100.
So uh and then the last part, sorry, just the last part is I would love for you to play the clip I sent you, because that's one verse, right? It's gonna be hook and then verse. And that is one of the roughest moments of my life back home. And as soon as I wrote it down, I feel like I'm over it to some extent.
Right.
Uh, yeah, growing up, my dad wasn't really around. He wasn't a bad guy. He just wanted to go to different countries and work and send us money. But uh, still, there's a lot of drama there,
Mhm.
uh, and I literally just put it all in that verse. And now I feel like after doing that, after performing that a couple of times, now it's like, you know what? It's okay. It's
Yeah,
okay. He did his best. I don't know. It gave me a different perspective for some reason. Yeah.
100%. And this is your medium to just express, right?
Exactly.
Even just like what you just said brought like a calmness over me and kind of like this works.
It does.
You have physical evidence of this working with others, of course. Like you have stories to tell. And within yourself, like even when I feel overwhelmed or it's been a bad day, I put on my favorite song and it just drives me back to like the greatest time of my life, right? So
Yeah.
just even that traveling back or those emotions, like it could just really help,
It
right?
does. It does. If you listen to a song that you haven't listened to since, let's say, you were 15, as
Mhm.
soon as you listen to it, it takes you somewhere.
Yep.
It does. There's like this magical, I'm really not a superstitious guy, I promise.
Yeah.
But there's this magical power that is there. And yeah,
Yeah, every conversation I have with artists and creatives, like it just reconfirms the holistic part of music and just creating
yeah,
it. Like there is no doubt about it. It's not even confirming anymore. It's just
it's
other
a fact.
people's perspectives. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
all it is. And like everybody interprets it very differently, and people will
Mm,
use music or like even just writing differently, right?
yeah.
So thank you for highlighting that, and it was amazing to have this conversation and highlighting
Thank
all
you.
these themes. Yeah, of course. Is there any platform, social media that you would like to share with everybody where they can go find your work and like upcoming
Yeah.
shows?
So the upcoming show is March 31st. It's at Clinton's Bar, Clinton's Got Talent,
Mhm.
and it's hosted by the lovely Balisi, who I met at Beat Cave, by the way.
Oh, connections,
Crazy,
yes.
right? And yeah, that's the next show, and you can find me anywhere at Sounds Like Samer. Samer is spelled Samer, and yeah, that's it.
Amazing. Thank you so much for
Thank you.
again being part of the Artist Holistic Wellness series. And a reminder that we are going live with these sessions every Tuesday for the month of April. And we'll catch you guys later. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
One time for the love back home, one time for the fam, one time for the city, put it on, one time for the real day ones, one time for my, yeah. A parent tries sometimes, it doesn't always work. After a long day at work, still don't got what you deserve. Coming home, wife, children, always asking for some shit. Tell them no, I knew this shit hurt you like a bitch. Felt defeated, it's a damn cold world. See, my mind taught me how to brush it off. Can't let it hurt. I guess some lessons in life we're not ready for. Or maybe we could adjust it to living poor, but fuck that. It's all a state of mind. I told myself I'm rich, the prophecy coming to life. Raised in these conditions, gave me hustle, gave me pride. Everything I've been through made me put it on the line. I can't hold no grudges, I can't pull no punches either. It's do or die, I got a dream and I'm a true believer. A pack of wolves and I gotta be the leader. Got a full tank of gas, even pack a couple liters, yeah. Hey, now snap your fingers, snap your fingers, snap your fingers.